Welcome to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Chris Miller. I invite you to join me as I interview artists from a variety of disciplines. We'll share powerful stories and lessons learned while making their art. Good morning. This is Chris Miller, and I'm with the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Today, I'm in conversation with Wilene Dunn. She is an entrepreneur, an author, and she owns several creative businesses. But when I asked her what she does for a living, I thought this was quite interesting. She said she lives to create anything and everything. And I love that. So good morning, Wilene.
Hi, Chris.
How are you today?
I'm great. I'm glad to be here. We have such great conversations. So
I'm glad to have you here too. Tell people a little bit about you. You are a writer and you've written several books. And so I was hoping you would share that with the listeners.
Yeah. So, it's inspiration. It's very similar to you as an artist, how you create from inspiration. And my first book was a children's book called Butterflies and Flower Petals, written for my niece. I just was inspired at 3 a.m., got up and wrote it. And 5 years later, for her 5th birthday, I gave it to her. And then the boys' book followed. And really, it is about words. It's called Raindrops and Lightning Bugs. And it's all about asking for what you want.
Oh, okay. So I love that in the first part, you talked about it being inspired at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I just woke up with it.
And you went out and just wrote it out.
Well, first of all, my mind took over, right? Like it does, because it says, oh, you'll never remember it. Stay in bed. What are you doing? I got up anyway. And I went and I remembered every word and I wrote it down. That's that divine inspiration.
Wow. Well, I love that about the creative process because that happens to me as well. In fact, this morning when I woke up, I had to write something down first thing, because usually for me, it's that dawning hours, right before like 6 o'clock in the morning, suddenly something will come into my head. And so one of the reasons one of the reasons I invited Wilene on this conversation is she's brought this up is Wilene is a great checkpoint for me. When I call her up and I might be venting about something in my life, she kind of pulls me back in line real quick. And she pulls me back in line because of the words that I'm using. And so what I wanted to talk about with this episode is the importance of the words that we pick. So Wilene, you were saying that the second book is a little bit more about that. Could you explain that?
Both of them. So both of my children's books are all about what they want, what you want. And they're little prayer books basically of asking God for what it is you want. So into the universe, we speak words like, bubbles. And as children, of course, they're simple. They're bubbles and puppies and flowers and right. And so those words that create, and we put them into the creative process, and then basically we receive them. They come to us. If we're aware, they come to us. So
what we speak, we manifest?
Absolutely. So your word is your wand. I love Florence Scovel Shinn because her books, The Game of Life and How to Play It, and she has another one called Your Word is Your Wand. And I love this idea that she says, never force a picture, choose words which bring a flash of fulfillment.
That's interesting. So we're talking, when you speak of words, in this case, we're talking about creating, the act of creating through our word choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I so funny because back to what we were talking about originally, I asked you what you do for a living, and then you said what you do for a living as opposed to money. Yes, it's two different things. Is that right?
Yes. What I do for money and what I do for a living are two different things.
So living is more about just the creative process?
Yeah, so that's a choice of words, right? So we say, what do you do for a living? What does that bring up for you when I ask you what you do for a living versus what you do for money? So what brings you aliveness? So when I say, what do you do for a living? That means, what do you do that makes you alive? Now, it can be the same thing you do for money, right? That's where we want to be. We want to be in that place where what we do for a living is what we do for money. But doesn't that feel different to you? That's the wordsmithing, right?
Definitely. I definitely see the difference as you say that, although I've used them interchangeably without consciously realizing what I was saying. But you're right. There is a difference, do for money sounds obligatory. When I do something for money, it sounds like work, doesn't it? But doing for a living.
Yeah, and so words have energy. So you asked me to come on and talk about words, and I thought about that. The words we choose have energy. And so in Your Word is Your Wand by Florence Scovel Shinn, she says, imagining faculty is the creative faculty, and it's important to choose your words which bring a flash of the fulfillment of the demand. So you never want to force a picture by visualizing. Let the divine idea flash into your conscious mind through choosing your words.
Interesting. I think a lot of people don't even think about the words they use for the most. And so you're asking people to kind of slow down a little bit and
well, be super conscious about your words. So also in Your Word is Your Wand, she says, if we talked about a magic purse and we said this magic purse is jammed, packed, crammed with dollar bills, that gives you a visualization. But where did the visualization come from? It came from the words you used. So when you think of a purse that's jam-packed, filled with money, well, you can get a great visualization of that, and that creates energy around those words.
And so it's okay to use the word jam-packed full of money. I guess it's because it's the idea, it's the feeling that comes with that word.
It's the feeling. Well, so if you're using, even if you use the word fear and it equaled fun to you, but most of the time when people say fear, it's fearful, or scary is scary. So it's the meaning we put on those words, right? So a lot of times it is about meaning and visualization. That's kind of what's so impactful about words. Because words create a visualization. Words create a thought process, a meaning. Because think about it, even in the dictionary, when we look up words, there's a definition to that word. So choosing our words carefully by which the definition plays out in our mind. If I say poop, you know what poop brings up for us, probably gross. But when I say the word joy, it has a completely different energy.
So we joke about this, but I do think that you're an incredible manifester. And so how do you use that to manifest? How do you use your words to manifest?
So I love kind of relating it really in process to, if you were going to wash clothes, you'd put the clothes in the washer, you would turn it on. You don't pull the clothes out over and over and over to look and see if they're clean. You just leave them there. So when we speak a word over something, and I want something, right now, I want a BMW i8. It's the new hybrid model, right? It's a sexy car. I like it. So, but if I turn around and say, hey, Chris, I want a BMW i8, and then I say, but it's not practical. What'd I just do?
Undermine that energy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So otherwise I can say, Chris, I want a BMW i8. I can see myself riding down Route 66 going to Canada in my new car. And we get this feeling around it. Well, those are all words, but they have meaning and visualization. I just created a picture for you. And I think that's what's great, from you as an artist. We can create pictures with words, visual pictures.
And by creating those pictures, we draw them to us, draw those realities to us.
Absolutely. So we're creating that. It's a creative faculty, using your words to create that flash of fulfillment. So the idea is that, like words have definitions, our words that we speak have a definition of things that we want. So like the process of putting clothes in the washer, we're sure to get them out clean because there's a process to it. There's an absolutely creative process to using your words to create the things that you want. Now, here's the thing. So if I say I want something and then I go back to, well, it's impractical, I've just squashed it. It's not going to create there. So I love this story that it's a personal story for me. I had medical bills, $197,000. Imagine getting that bill and just going, where am I going to come up with $197,000? So we talk a lot about this, treat and move your feet, like say what it is you want and then get busy. Well, in this instance, there wasn't anything for me to do, Chris. I didn't have $197,000. What was I to do but to speak my word? So this is what I said. I said, I want to pay $8,000 collectively for all the bills associated with that injury, that hospital visit. Thank you for saving my life. And I put that bill in a drawer. And then every time a new bill would come, and interestingly enough, they kept decreasing, and I did nothing. I did nothing but to state my word. So the bill would come, and now it was $97,000. Where did $100,000 of it go? I have no idea, but I wasn't going to question it. So I stated again when I got that bill, I said, I only want to pay $8,000 collectively for all these hospital bills related to this event. Thank you for saving my life. And I put it up. By the end, so I got another 157, then 36, then a 19,000. And I was waiting for them to make a decision on if I could have any reduction in that bill. So I got a letter, and all the other associated like ER physicians and groups said, we will give you the same amount percentage off as the hospital. So we'll wait for that decision. So the hospital said in this great letter, it said, we've offered you 55% off of the original amount. You owe us $5,500. Now, wait a second. I don't know if you do math, but 55% off of $197,000 is not $5,500. So when I got the total bills after this process, it was 3 months. I never wavered ever in my thinking or feeling or my affirmative statement. Every time I thought of the event, every time I received something that from the hospital or from a medical physician, I said the same thing, and I let my word stand in every instance. By the time it was over, I paid $7,963.79 for a total of $283,000 in bills. So I paid the $8,000. All I said is I wanted to pay $8,000, for all the bills included, and I got $7,963.79 was my total amount.
So I think I heard that wrong. Your first bill, the original bill, was it 290 or 190?
No, it was 197,000 from the hospital. The all collective bills together with the ER physician bills and all the other bills that said that they would give me the same off as the hospital, that total was 283,000.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that's correct for the listeners. So this was for medical treatment that you got. So some situation you had in your life. And one of the things I love about your statement is you do still give thanks for what you received. I noticed you saying
absolutely. Thank you for saving my life. What I know about my word and my speaking it as a creator is that I could have said zero. I want to pay zero for these bills. I know that. I could have claimed that I pay zero, but I wanted to honor the receiving of treatment. And so almost like a tithe back to them, I said I want to pay $8,000. That was my set amount. That was my agreement to them that they deserve to receive, because as creators we can have it any way we want it, and it was their grace in saving me. It was my grace in paying at least $8,000.
So I hear what you're saying. So you're saying you could have said anything, but in this case you want to honor the fact that they did assist you. They did provide a wonderful gift and help you, and so you did want to pay them for that.
Right.
And so you kept that gratitude as part of the word. So it's setting your word, but also almost couching it in gratitude, right?
Yes.
Which is lovely.
And offering to pay something, because truth be told, my word is my wand. And I could have said, I only want to pay zero for all these bills collective. Thank you for saving my life. But I wanted to honor almost in a tithe back for them saving me, taking care of me.
I had a coach many years ago tell me that when I write a check, I should always say thank you with it, because instead of feeling like, oh, I'm spending money, it's saying thank you for that service. And we were just talking before we started this conversation that one of my pets had to go into the vet, and I'm having to pay $400. And instead of feeling a resentment, to just remember what service did. It's saving my dog from probably an unhealthy, definitely situation that's not just unhealthy, but could be detrimental. And so instead of feeling bad about writing the check, I need to kind of say it with gratitude. I write this check with gratitude. I make this payment and I'm thankful for what you did. And that does change that relationship. As you say, the energy that follows writing that check is totally different because I've put different words to it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the word thankful. When you say that word, how do you feel? Because words create a feeling or a meaning. And that's why words are so important to know what it is you're saying. I mean, to pay attention to. So when you say the word thankful, how do you feel?
Right. And, I don't think a lot of people, I've been trying to practice that myself in many ways, but just to sit quietly and close your eyes and try the word out, feel it, feel thankful and feel how your body resonates with that as opposed to poo. As you said earlier, you sit there and close your eyes and say poo. It's a different feeling and you can almost feel it, right through your body. And yeah. I love this because when I first thought about doing this podcast, I always call you and I'll be complaining about something and I'll be saying, oh, this is going to kill me. And Wilene will say, what? It's not going to kill you. What? Don't use that word. And so I've learned to say something like, this is going to be frustrating, or this is going to be softly annoying, or this will be an extra challenge, but to soften those words. And that's obviously the one level of this. But when we talk about manifesting, we're talking about the second level of that is consciously picking words and creating an affirmation.
Your outcome. Well, you're creating your outcome. You can use an affirmation to create the outcome, right? So you're stringing a lot of words together that say what it is that you want. Like with this medical bills, I said, I only want to pay $8,000 collectively for all these bills. Thank you for saving my life. That was a string of words together that gave an affirmative to the outcome I want to create. So it's about coming up with the outcome. So if we're frustrated about something, we're in a place, like, what do you want to feel? Where do you want to be? What do you want to see? How does it feel to be in that I8 BMW? What does that feel like versus, the opposite of that is, I don't have it and I'm so frustrated with my current car and it's not working. Well, what do you want then? What do you want? What do you want?
Okay, so as a listener, I'm sitting here listening to this. I'm going, oh, that's great. That's great. So what is the strategy if I decide I want something or look at my life? How can I practice this every day? How can I make this a spiritual practice?
So what I love is truly see your words as your wand. See your words as your magic wand. When you are speaking something, you are creating it. And words come from thought. That's where it starts. So you have this thought, and I think, oh, okay. So I just have this awful circumstance that just happened. So what's a circumstance? Well, look at our world right now. So let's just go global with it. So we have this big world that's in a pandemic. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. Well, okay, maybe there is. You can do something from where you are. So from where you stand, what is it what's the outcome I would like to see for the world? So I state, my outcome right here, right now, is to feel joy in this space and to know that all things are going to work out. I know that. I've seen it before. There's been depression in our land. There's been recession in our land. It always works out. So I'm going to hold that. So anytime somebody comes to me and says, oh my God, Wilene, this pandemic and I have to wear a mask, I'm like, so what is it that you want? For me, I'm holding a joy for the world. And I go right back there. So do you see the difference in how it feels to stay in an outcome that you want to see?
Oh, definitely. And so you would pick certain words to express that joy in the world? Would you create a sentence that you say, or how would you take that one step further?
So the idea is like with the medical bills, I never let it rock my feeling. I didn't have any kind of negative feeling. I'd open the bill, I'd see it, and I immediately state my words around it, that I'm only paying $8,000 collectively for these bills. So I never had an adverse feeling. Well, why? Because I didn't lean into the circumstance. So with this pandemic, I'm not leaning into the circumstance of how awful it is. Chris, it is tragic. People are dying, so there's tragedy there. But how do I want to stand in that tragedy? How do I want the world to feel in this moment? I only get to do me. So what I'm going to do is hold that there's joy and peace for people in this land, in this nation, globally, that people are feeling that. So every time the pandemic comes up, I choose an affirmative statement that there is joy in the land. People are feeling at peace with the current circumstances. Is it true? Of course, people are feeling there's anxiety and people are dying and there is tragedy. And what can I do? I can hold a statement that I know to be true, that people can feel joy, because they can't. We can hold, just like with the medical bills, I only want to pay $8,000. What do you want? State your outcome for the, and I understand that's a big thing to take on the pandemic, but here's the thing. If we come up with an outcome of something that we would like to see, then you're going to see that outcome. It can only happen. It's a creative process. So the faculty is creative faculty, and it's important we choose our words, which brings a flash of the fulfillment of the demand. So I demand this land be in peace.
Well, and what I like about it too is you're not just saying, I want to survive or that we'll get by. You're actually taking it all the way over into joy. You know, it'd be one thing to just say, I just want to survive this. That's a better word than this is killing me. But when you say I want to take it to joy, you're really taking it all the way across that emotional spectrum and therefore setting it out there. And so now if I turn on the radio or I read a thing pops up in my phone about the circumstance of COVID, the death, et cetera, I can come back with a statement. I only see joy, and just keep focused on that. Is that right?
Absolutely. And it's not just happened in one place in my life. I've had it over and over, and I know consistently it works. That is consistently what works, is when there's a circumstance that I don't want in my life, I put an affirmative around it. I don't feel the circumstance. I don't go in. I don't talk to you about my circumstance. I don't talk to you about my frustration and my anger. I'm talking to you about the outcome and what I want to see. And then it works. I'm telling you it works. And I have countless stories about how it works. But here's the key to that. Remember, you just cannot be in the circumstance. And you're like, well, how's that possible? I mean, when you're in a shit storm, when you're feeling it, when you're living in a pandemic, how do you not feel the frustration of people? You just stay with your word, knowing that it is your wand and it changes things. So you state what it is you want to see. You always go to your outcome. And if we could talk a minute about your outcome personally, when you're dealing with your show in the urban artist market, which is super cool, a great place to be and be an artist and be with you in that, you get to state every show what you want to see. And so when you say, I want a place, a facility that serves me and serves my artists and is in perfect location. Well, when you go to a place and it's not in perfect location and it's not that, so what do? You just go back to your word. You speak your word back over it. And that's exactly what you did when you found your last center. And you were able to have a show in this pandemic. How did you do that?
Well, you say, like you said, you say your word and you keep with it. You just keep with it. And I think that's the same with any creative process. You know, a lot of people listening to this are artists. They do ceramic, pottery. I think you have to keep that intent through the creative process. I want to create a beautiful piece. I want to create this. And it can be an intent of money. It can be an intent of beauty, helping others. But you just keep saying it. And like you said, you don't see anything but that.
Like the BMW i8, right? If I were to say, oh, but it's impractical. Well, okay, then you don't get to have it. Because, the only time you get to have what it is you want is if you're willing to stand behind it, no matter what the circumstance circumstance is showing you, no matter that there's a pandemic in the land, we can say that everyone feels joy. Everyone feels joy today. And I know it's kind of foo-foo. It really is. But here's what I know about it. It works. Just try it out on something small in your life. I would ask the listeners, try something small. And what I'm going to tell you is you cannot ever, not one time, feel something outside of that. So if you're going to ask for a new car, you need to get your picture of your new car. You need to know exactly what it feels like and looks like. Get yourself in that car, speak your word over it, and get an affirmative statement that anytime something shows up that contradicts that, like a bill shows up and you're like, oh, now I can't afford a new car because I have this bill. You don't do that. You get the bill, you see it, and you say, well, I have a new car and I love being in my new car and I love the joy of being in my new car. And matter of fact, I get the best deal on the lot that day because they just need to sell one more car. You know, whatever it is. And do you see the joy that brings? Like all of a sudden you're feeling like, yeah, right? I can do that.
It's
I can
possible,
have that. I'm going down to the lot today.
It's interesting because you create the possibility for it. You create the possibility for it by framing it with the right words.
Yeah, it's all in the words we use. Absolutely. So if you would indulge me just a minute, I also wrote a book called Roller Coasters, The Ups and Downs of Life in Poetry. And it was a definitive work for me because it came out of wanting to create something different from the loss of a relationship. And one of the poems in that book is called Wings. It says, mechanical things must be primed before they start. It is the process of life as well to test and expand the heart. We have the capacity within us to soar, but we do not trust our wings anymore. So expand in us the desire within so we can trust our wings again. And I just drew a picture with my words for you to trust your wings, to get out and soar, to spread them, you know, and we do that with our words, whether it's poetry or reading a book, whatever it is we're stating, we're creating our life.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, this has been really inspiring, an inspiring podcast. And like I said, I love the fact that we're not talking about just the words you choose in everyday languaging, but also the words you use to manifest or to create your reality. And it is about feeling it and a little bit about that trust that you just talked about. So where are you going to, what's your next big creative endeavor with this knowledge?
You know, I have a new business, a new networking business that I'm creating, and I'm speaking my word over that business of creation. And it's so fun because what happens when we speak our word and we stay with that word and the word creates visualization, because when you use your words, you can see it. When you say joy, you can see someone in joy. I mean, it all has a picture. So when I'm talking about this new business and I have this affirmation set around creating it and how people will become millionaires by using this new system that I have, you know, I'm just staying right there. And that's what I'm creating, a way for people to always have income and the availability to support each other, because I love people and I love people getting what they want. So most importantly, what I want people to hear in this is use your word to create, but know what you want to create. Know what it is you want to create and stay there. Stay right there. Speak your word about your creation. And no matter what shows up, go right back to what it is you want to create, because that draws the people, that draws the income, that draws and I know, again, you go back to the food. How does that work? Look, I can't tell you how, but I can tell you it does, because I experience it over and over and over in my life. And I get everything I want. I always get everything I want.
That leads me to one last thing I was thinking about, but I didn't want to cut this too short, is you had mentioned, and I think that's kind of what you're doing. You're telling a story. So you're not just using your words, but you're actually creating a story. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I really like so the word is your wand. When I draw you a picture and say to you, you have a magic purse, right? And this magic purse is as big as the world, and it is stuffed full of dollar bills. You have this whole visual image of that. And imaging is really the faculty that's the creative faculty. So if I'm imaging it, if I'm speaking my word, like you can easily see when I say I only want to pay $8,000 collectively, that their words have definitions. There's a reason we have a dictionary, because if we were just to say generic words that didn't have any definition to them, then they would have no meaning. So therefore they would just be words that meant nothing. But we do have words that mean something. We do have definitions on words. So when we say words, they create the meaning because they create a visualization. They create an image. And so when we say the word fear, your image may be different than mine using the word fear, but it's still, there's an imagery there. When I say the word joy, there's an imagery there. Now, if the word fear in your life meant fun, well, then you would use the word fear and you would feel like it's fun. So you actually can do that for yourself because they are just words. So if we were to equate fear to fun or scary to praise or, or angry to helpful, well, those have completely different meanings and completely different ideas. So we can play with that. It's all our meaning. It's what we give it. It's the imagery of what we set forth in the word.
And so we create that imagery by describing it more completely, like by telling a small story with it.
Yeah. So imaging is the creative faculty. So you choose your words that bring the flash of fulfillment of the demand. So if I say, Chris, today I am joyful. Well, there's a flash to me of me jumping in the air, laughing and playing with my dogs. I have 6 rescue dogs and we do that a lot. We jump around. So that's what joy means to me, right? So I can hold the word joy. And then I can speak words like, my curiosity inspires me to live my dreams. I am pure intelligence, always acting intelligently. Well, that has a visual image to me, of me acting intelligently. What does that look like? That looks like meditation and acting intelligently, making good decisions. So using the words that create all of that momentum is like waving your magic wand.
And then dancing with your dogs a little bit.
Yeah, because that's fun, right? That creates that. Well, so that's an activity that I'm doing that kind of locks in that idea or the meaning around joy. Because when you're grateful, sometimes when you're grateful, an activity of being grateful maybe be giving someone a gift. So, or just stating your gratitude. Using that word creates a certain visual image for you, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I think what you mentioned earlier, just about giving a gift, I've known that sometimes if I feel like I'm in a funk or something, I just start writing thank you cards. I know that sounds weird, but I'll write thank you cards to people and put them in the mail because it's like you're sending out that gratitude to the world.
See, and I think it sounds lovely. So you doing that where you say the word weird, I would say lovely, right? Because that's a lovely thing to do. That's
there you go. Correct.
Thing to do.
Correcting my word choice. But you're right. You're right. I need to take ownership of it. And using the word weird sounds derogatory. See, that's perfect example of Wilene calling me out. Perfect example.
Right. Well, using the word, when you use the word lovely, like this is a lovely process for me. This is a grateful process for me. When I write thank you cards, if I'm in a funk and I write thank you cards, then I can step into joy. I can step into a feeling that has created gratitude for the people in my life. That's lovely. And so, I mean, that's exactly right, Chris. It is the words we choose. What is the meaning? Now, if weird for you had a meaning of joy, then it's, for you, it's fine to use the word weird. But I think in connotation, if you looked up the definition of what that means, people would have a different visual image of that. So it's just this idea of using words that create a visual image that promote the thing happening. So there's a final statement in this It says, never force a picture by visualizing. Let the divine idea flash into your conscious mind. So when you say the word joy, what is the divine idea that flashes in your mind? What is it?
A divine joy. I don't know. I see a visual, I guess, because I'm a visual person, but I see like birds or something flying, or butterflies or hummingbirds. That's what I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Freedom. Freedom.
Great. And, I don't think anyone can really say a word. I'm a visual person. I think most of us are visual people, because there's not a word. You can't say anything to anyone. There's not some type of meaning put on it. Maybe it's not a visual, a bird flying, but it could be the word freedom. There's something, though, that's going to be created out of that, whether it's another a feeling or a visualization or an imagery. But that words create the process. I mean, words are creative.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining me on this podcast, Wilene. And as always, you always catch me. And it's interesting. There's always another layer to explore with your word choice, both in just the common words you use to describe your life, but also the words you use to describe what you want to achieve and what you want to create. And so that's consciously choosing the words. So
focus on an outcome that you want to create. Use your words to create it. Then use the imaging to feel it. So get the outcome. What do you want here? What do you want in this life? What do you want today? What do you want to eat? I mean, just what do you want? Focus on the outcome. State the words, like, I'm having a healthy meal. It's a good meal and my body loves it. And so as you move forward, that's exactly what you'll create, because you have a focus on it. And then stay with the word until it's created. And sometimes that can take a long time. Like, I'm living in a house that's taken 2 years to manifest the way I wanted to manifest, but I never leave my word. My word is that this house is mine solely, with my name on the deed only, and the house is paid in full. And I know that that's true for me. I just know it's true because I've spoken my word over it. And so it doesn't matter the time frame. So don't think, if you're working on something big, that, well, I've done what she said, I spoke my word, and I keep speaking the same word, but it's not happening. It is happening. But sometimes things that are big like that things have to happen around us, like the right people and the money and the work and the things that create that to happen. Our job is to know the outcome and to stay with an affirmative statement always that creates that outcome for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Wilene. I'm sure that we will be talking again real soon. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I wish you best luck with that new product. Sounds cool. Thanks
for letting me be here. And, I feel the same way about you, Chris, and it really is an art. Words are an art, just the same way you create your pieces, being in the imagined place of it just flowing through you. And that's exactly what words do also. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.